In his opening statement, Judge Kavanaugh accused Democrats of a conspiracy to sabotage his nomination.
This whole 2-week effort has been a calculated and orchestrated political hit, fueled with apparent pent-up anger about President Trump and the 2016 election, fear that has been unfairly stoked about my judicial record, revenge on behalf of the Clintons, and millions of dollars in money from outside left-wing opposition groups.
With us now from Washington is Kellyanne Conway, counselor to President Trump. Good morning, Kellyanne.
Good morning, John.
We've seen two sound bites from Brett Kavanaugh this morning. One, the anguish, the personal anguish, talking about his daughter. The second being that very partisan shot at Democrats. I want to focus for a moment on that second part. How can Judge Kavanaugh sit on the Supreme Court and call balls and strikes and be an impartial member of the Supreme Court with that kind of a partisan shot?
Judge Kavanaugh has done exactly that, John, for 12 years on the second highest court in the country, the D.C. Circuit. And as he also said in his sworn testimony yesterday, there's never been a whiff of an allegation like this all the time he's been in the court with any number of dozens of female law clerks. And more importantly, people have never questioned his judicial temperament and his decisions. He's authored 300 opinions. These senators yesterday could have talked about that and said they were talking about a paragraph in a high school yearbook. So I believe once he gets to the Supreme Court, he will call the balls and strikes fairly. What he was responding to yesterday was 2.5 weeks of a political hit job where the Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee treated both he and Dr. Ford very unfairly.
Let me ask you.
They abused him for their own purposes. He had showed them respect and deference in his original confirmation hearing, and they showed him ruination and destruction in return.
Ruination and destruction, I hear you, and the partisan message is quite clear, but the American Bar Association, when Lindsey Graham was reacting to the partisanship, he cited the American Bar Association. He called it the gold standard. So they took something different away from this testimony yesterday. They've asked for a delay until the FBI can investigate Dr. Ford's claims. The president has the ability to ask for that, since it's his nominee. Will the president listen to the ABA, which Senator Graham called the gold standard, and have a delay here?
Well, the president's listening to then Senator Joe Biden in 1991, where he said anybody who thinks FBI makes conclusions doesn't understand anything.
Not conclusions, Kellyanne, just an investigation, ask some questions to tighten up some of these details.
But we had that yesterday for the whole country to see, and I think that your reporting from your colleague Ed is very instructive here, in that the sex crimes prosecutor, whom the Republicans asked to come in and do the questions for Dr. Ford, respectfully and patiently, that she would never have enough evidence in a court of law to prosecute. The FBI has conducted 6 successful vettings of Brett Kavanaugh throughout his career. He's raised his right hand many times, taking an oath to the Constitution, swearing to uphold the law. And the most recent vetting of Brett Kavanaugh occurred this summer, contemporaneously with the letter that Dr. Ford apparently sent to the Democrats asking for anonymity. So that vetting result is on the desk of every Democratic senator. They ought to open up and look at it, because they're not going to find anything there that would cast doubt, except for the most hardened partisan against Judge Kavanaugh's nomination. Look, she didn't provide corroborating evidence yesterday in her testimony, but he provided the country corroborating evidence as to his qualifications and temperament to be on the Supreme Court.
Well, let's talk about her for a second, Kellyanne, Christine Blasey Ford. What's your take on her testimony? Was she credible to you?
She was very compelling and I think very sympathetic. And I have said all along, including on your network, Gayle, something that Judge Kavanaugh said yesterday under oath. And I have goosebumps right now. It seems that she absolutely was wronged by somebody, that she was sexually assaulted, as Judge Kavanaugh said, at some point, somewhere, by someone, and that he and the rest of us mean her no ill will. I also have a 10-year-old daughter like he does, and it's becoming a little bit hairy in the way that we have to describe these things to our youngsters. But he wasn't there. I've said from the beginning, it may turn out that they're both right, that she was sexually assaulted, but that he had nothing to do with it. And I think America saw that yesterday. I don't know why also that we have to look at every woman automatically as a victim if you're a woman, every man is a bad perpetrator. When did this happen that we line up according to political lines or according to gender lines? I think yesterday's yesterday's hearing, if it had to happen, was very elucidating for the country, but it never had to have happened. I think that everybody now will recognize Dr. Ford. Her life will be forever changed. Judge Kavanaugh has said that his reputation, he needs to restore it, his good family, the vicious threats and death threats against his wife and children and family. So I feel like this was mishandled by the Democrats from the beginning, who could have been asking Judge Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford questions in a much less public setting. It sounds like Dr. Ford would have been open to that.
Yes, a lot of people have a lot of questions about yesterday. It was certainly very partisan and very riveting to watch. I'll say that.
Yes, and I'm glad the public had a chance to see it, Gayle. I think the transparency is important. Thank you.
I am too. Thank you very much, Kellyanne, for joining us this morning.